All right, what's happening, crew? We're back with another ride series how-to, and this is one that we've done before, but we're gonna do it again because everybody wants to learn cool tricks before they learn bike control. So we're gonna talk about manuals. And the reason we're gonna redo this one is not because the last one was bad. I thought it was pretty good. We're gonna redo it because the Rob Drew actually went through his own little manual journey and he had some gems of advice. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take those gems and I'm going to try to convey them to you in a very entertaining and straightforward manner. So the idea is to try to break it down even simpler than we did last time to help you understand how to do a manual. Now, do you need to do a manual? In my opinion, no, you don't. But I'll also tell you that a manual is actually sustaining on the rear wheel for an extended period of time. So trying it and stopping, I'm not gonna call that a manual, but therein lies the crux of people not being able to manual. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're not ready to commit, that's cool. But if you can't commit, you're not gonna be able to manual. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hop on the Delano and we're gonna use a really cool area to try to keep it simple and hopefully give you something that you can recreate in your own little manual journey. So I'm sure I don't have to ask, but I will because I'm supposed to. Are you ready? Let's set the stage here for where we're at. We're in a grass field that slopes down a little bit. So my best advice is find this sort of place because I think it'll make it a little bit easier to get started. Second thing is, and I know you're gonna be shocked by this, put some flat pedals on probably. Part of the reason is I think it's a little bit easier to push the bike out from underneath you and you might strategically do that. So I'm still clipped in just because that's where I'm most comfortable. But flat pedals, probably a better idea as you're getting more comfortable. I think down the road, when you build a level of comfort, there are some advantages to being clipped in, but we're gonna save those. So I got my grass slope. I'm in a spot where it's a little bit downhill. I've also brought some cones. So I've set these cones up because I need a goal distance. And this is something specifically from Rob. He would set bottles out to give himself a goal of where he needed to get to. Once he could get to that spot, he could slowly extend that out. So I think that's a smart play because then you can visually see where you're trying to go and that can help you extend a little bit longer. Now what that means, and this is kind of a solid segue into, you have to commit to this. So what you're trying to do is when you come in, you're trying to really aggressively and dynamically throw your hips back and down. So you want to think more about the hips than the arms. And I see a lot of people really try to focus on pulling. Don't do that. Okay, you have way more mass in your hips. So if you really think about driving those hips back and down and letting them come back, your arms will automatically straighten out and that'll help you get the bike up. What you need to try to do is find that balance point. Okay, this is a pretty difficult thing and you have to commit. Now, the balance point, below it, you're not there. But if you go past the balance point, you go too far. And trust me, I'm with you. I don't want to flip over backwards. So what you need to do is find a way to build into that point. And to help you, this thing right here, have your finger on the rear brake. And what you can even do is almost preload it a little bit and have it ready to go. So as you start getting more comfortable with this, as you start getting more aggressive with driving your hips back, really be purposeful about going too far back and getting a feel for what the rear brake is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. If you can't get your finger on the rear brake for this, it's gonna be really, really challenging. The brake is your safety net, almost. If things start to go wrong, you grab a little bit of brake. I try to limit the amount of rear brake I use and modulate my hips. So trust me, you'll see that as we go through some of these shots. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of work this up in stages. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna try to be really dynamic and drop my hips back. So I'm gonna start just trying to bring the front up with my weight back. Then I'll try to do the same thing, but stay back to keep it extended. From my position, and probably from the position of that plane, what you can see is most people, when they do it, they fire their hips back pretty decently, but then they automatically come forward. You want to try to work through that to where you can fire your hips back and get comfortable staying back here, kind of like this. So I'm gonna hop on, I'm gonna slowly roll in and start to show you what that movement looks like. So keep your eyes on my hips, okay? Chubbs Peterson said it best. It's all in the hips. It's all in the hips. You can smile, Brock, come on, dude. Okay, so common mistakes. I think there's just a couple I'm gonna focus on. The first mistake is not committing enough. So I see a lot of people trying to do a manual and they just won't let those hips fall back and down, or they won't be aggressive with it. So first thing is you gotta find a way to be comfortable being aggressive with the hips. The second thing, and I think probably more important, is really trying to use the arms. I don't wanna try to pull with my arms. What I wanna try to do is get my hips back and down far enough that my arms straighten out, and then what I can do is use my hips to balance. So if I can keep my arms straight, then I don't have to worry about that. But if my elbow's bent and this starts happening, then I can't kind of factor for that movement, and it makes it even more difficult. I'm a fan of trying to keep it simple. So if I can come back, get my arms straight and get my hips where they need to be, I can just kind of move my hips a little bit to keep myself in the balance point. The other thing too, I guess we call it a third mistake, is weight in the feet. You still have to keep your feet heavy and try to drive the bike with your feet. So part of it is really try to get the feet weighted equally as you get better with this. When we do a more advanced manual talk, or when we talk about doing it on the trail, you'll start to push with your feet almost like rudders to get the bike to move side to side. A little bit of speed, aggressive with the hips. Stay back a little bit longer. Okay, comfort's building. Now I'm gonna go a little bit too far and use the rear brake. Okay, now I'm gonna stay back longer and try to push through my feet. I'm gonna come in, shoot back, stay back, push through my feet and modulate with my hips. Fire the hips back and down, stay relaxed, pushing through the heels, dragging the brake a little bit, and then easing into the turn. Oh boy. Woo! And just like that, there you go. Manuals, we did them again. So think about the progression, how it builds. You have to commit. Find a spot. Sloping grass field that you're comfortable, put those flat pedals on. Really get aggressive, driving those hips back. Chubbs Peterson in your mind. It's all in the hips. Fire them back, fire them down. Let those arms get straight. Hang out back there. The longer you can stay back with the hips, easier it's gonna be. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, let me know. Stay positive, have fun on the trails, smile. Peace out, dumpers.